If you are an 80-kilogram man standing 10 meters away from the One World Trade Center, then there should be an expected horizontal gravity of 0.05606 meters per second squared.
What? Right, let's get this rolled on the show.
Shut up and sit down, you big bald f***.
Please subscribe.
The so-called law of gravity is a monumental hoax and constitutes one of the biggest psyops in all of history.
I know, it's nuts, isn't it? To declare a fundamental law of the universe as a hoax because you can't feel a force that's completely overwhelmed by the friction from your own shoes is almost adorable in its profound scientific illiteracy. Almost.
Assuming we actually live on the spinning globe Earth promoted by modern Freemasonic science.
Oh, Freemasonic science. Now, is that different from regular science, or are you only calling it Freemasonic science because it is regular science and you can't make it work on a flat Earth?
Consider the following calculations and contradictions.
Okay, I'll do exactly that then, but considering the fact that your first calculation was itself a contradiction, I'm not that worried.
The supposed law of gravity claims its mysterious action at a distance force can be measured as g times m1 times m2 over r squared, with g being equivalent to 6.674 times 10 to the power of minus 11. Now, consider the One World Trade Center in New York, which has a mass of approximately 1,050,000,000 kilograms. This means that if you are an 80-kilogram man standing 10 meters away from the One World Trade Center, then there should be an expected horizontal gravity of 0.05606 meters per second squared.
Right, first off, let's just gently point out that Eric's calculation, much like his grasp of reality, is a tad off. Now, a quick run through Newton's actual law of gravitation for those exact numbers gives you an acceleration closer to 0.7 meters per second squared. So he's already messed up his own evidence by a factor of over 10. Not a great start when you're trying to debunk reality, is it? But even if we humour his initial incorrect number, or even my corrected one, the answer to why I don't feel it is gloriously and ridiculously simple. Friction. Seriously, the static friction between your shoes and the pavement, or even the slight incline of the ground, or the gentle breeze from a passing pigeon is orders of magnitude stronger than the gravitational tug from a distant building. Tug. And this building, even with the corrected higher number, is pulling you horizontally with less than 1 meter per second squared. That's like complaining that you can't feel an ant tickling your arm while there's a Rottweiler gnawing on your leg.
Considering the standard rate of vertical gravity is 9.81 meters per second squared, this means the expected horizontal gravity from the One World Trade Center should be pulling at about 1/174th that of standard vertical gravity.
And this, ladies and gentlemen, is where Eric Douche Nozzle's House of Cards really starts to wobble. He's basing his new supposed contradiction on his old incorrect calculation. 174th, my word. He's trying to make a big deal out of a force that's barely over 0.5% of what's actually pulling you down. Even if his original, wildly inaccurate number of 0.056 was somehow correct, it's still less than 1% of the force you do feel every second. So I fail to see exactly what it is you're trying to prove. If it's that you don't know what you're talking about, then well done. But if it's anything else, well, also well done, because we get to laugh at you. Because you're complaining that a force which is in reality about 7% of Earth's gravity, or if you use his incorrect number, less than 1%, isn't immediately obvious to your senses. Obvious is? I don't know what happened then. That's like asking why you can't hear a whisper over a jet engine and then concluding that sound doesn't exist. Absolute nonsense.
This may not sound significant, but it must be measurable. And this point becomes extremely interesting when the same 80-kilogram man stands just 1 meter from the One World Trade Center.
Why does he keep showing B-roll footage of a man playing with a slinky?
Everyone loves a slinky. You gotta get a slinky, slinky, slinky. Go, slinky, go!
Anyway, if you could somehow magically stand just 1 meter from the centre of mass of the One World Trade Center, which would mean you'd be somewhere deep inside the concrete foundations, or perhaps even lower, maybe playing hide and seek with the subway lines, the gravitational force would indeed be incredibly significant. And plug in those numbers into Newton's actual law, an 80-kilogram man would experience a staggering force of over 5,600 newtons, leading to an acceleration of more than 70 meters per second squared. That's right. 70 meters per second squared. That's about 7 times the acceleration you'd feel pulling you downwards to the entire Earth if you were in a vacuum on a perfectly frictionless surface, 1 meter from the centre of mass of that building. You wouldn't just be interested, pal. You'd be smeared across the nearest wall faster than you could say flat earth logic. Oh yeah, you did make your calculations from the centre of the object whose mass you were trying to calculate, didn't you? So, we've seen a lot of mind-bending logic in this video so far, and I've got a question for you. If gravity did actually work the way that Eric Dubay seems to think it does, what everyday object would you be afraid to touch? Let me know in the comments below, and keep it clean. Or don't.
In this instance, the questionable law of gravity calculates that the horizontal gravity increases 100-fold to a whopping 5.606 meters per second squared, which is more than half of standard vertical gravity.
More than half of standard vertical gravity? No, mate. It's not more than half. It's nearly 7 times standard gravity. This isn't just more than half. It's literally enough force to flatten you against the side of a building if you were actually 1 meter from its centre of mass. So your whopping number is just a joke and an understatement of the actual force. And it's based on bad maths anyway.
The gravitational attraction between an 80-kilogram man standing 1 meter from the World Trade Center should be easily felt and should require significant effort to resist being pulled into the wall like a magnet.
Okay. But here's the inconvenient truth for all flat earthers, which keeps derailing their entire fantasy physics lessons. You're not in a frictionless vacuum, and you cannot stand 1 meter from the centre of mass of a skyscraper. I thought you were a smart guy, Eric. And I don't have the time or the crayons to explain it to you. But if you stand on the actual ground 1 meter from the outer surface of the World Trade Center, then nothing's gonna happen. And claiming gravity is fake because you're not magnetically attracted to a distant building is like claiming the wind doesn't exist because you can't push over a brick wall with your breath. I bet Eric Dubay's family tree is a cactus.
Finally, if the same man were to be so unfortunate as to touch the Trade Center, the bogus law of gravity says that you will need to call the fire brigade to come and detach the man, because he will no longer be able to break free by his own strength.
No, you'd more likely need a paint scraper and a mop and bucket, you clown. Now let's just be absolutely crystal clear here. This just doesn't happen. You can walk up to and touch and walk away from any building on Earth without requiring an emergency rescue team, a forklift, or a detachment of firefighters armed with crowbars. Why? Because the gravitational attraction between our bodies and the surface of a building, which, remember, is still hundreds of meters away from its actual centre of mass, is so incredibly, ludicrously, insultingly tiny that it's completely meaningless. And trying to use it as a gotcha moment for the shape of the Earth just illustrates how clueless flat earthers are, even the ones who can fake sounding smart, like Eric Dubay.
Consider the same 80-kilogram man now on a vacation to Switzerland, where he goes to rock climb the famous north face of the Eiger Mountain. Here, the mystical law of gravity predicts that even if he loses his grip while climbing, there is no need to fear, because it's impossible for him to fall from the 10 billion ton mountain.
That's how I imagine flat earthers react when they watch this douche nozzle. They worship him. He's a clown. And this isn't a bogus law of gravity saying it, mate. This is your imagination saying it, trying to create a dramatic scenario to prove your point. When you're climbing a mountain, the overwhelming force pulling you is the entire planet Earth's gravity, and it's pulling you straight down towards its centre. So that's a force of roughly 9.8 meters per second squared acting on every single bit of that man's 80 kilos. That's why things fall, because the planet is massive. So do you have any more delusions to share with us, or are you done?
Since the distance between himself and the mountain is almost zero, making r squared in the equation nearly negligible.
I mean, you could have just said no, but fine, carry on if you want to.
According to the magical law of gravity, we are assured that rock climbing massive mountains like these is actually among the safest of pursuits imaginable, because falling is deemed physically impossible.
Why is it that when flat earthers think they're debunking something, all they're actually doing is creating a problem which doesn't exist? It's completely pathetic.
When two objects physically touch each other, the gravitational force between them increases to a very large number, implying that they should become difficult to separate. In reality, however, only magnets behave this way.
Well, I'm glad you've compared gravity to magnetism, because that perfectly illustrates just how much of a moron you actually are. Magnets, when compared to gravity, are billions and billions and billions of times stronger.
Freemasonic science apologists, attempting to refute the necessity of non-vertical gravity, will often assert the Star Trek argument of gravity only comes from the center of the Earth, Captain.
It's not a Star Trek argument, is it, you dickweed? It's a reality argument. Gravity pulls things towards the center of mass of a given object.
But this is a nonsensical double standard, because the same broken law of gravity claims this calculable mutual attraction exists between all objects, even between two particles, and not solely from the center.
So your entire argument then, Eric, is that because things don't get stuck together due to gravity, gravity is a hoax. Really? You haven't forgotten that you're an adult man, have you? And as such, you should have got past this sort of childlike way of thinking 30 years ago. Grow up.
Google AI clarifies, quote, gravitational attraction emanates from the entire mass of an object, not just from its center of mass.
Wait, so do you think that we think, the people who aren't moronic enough to be flat earthers believe that mass isn't really part of gravity, that it's just the center of that mass? What the hell are you talking about?
So the excuse of claiming gravity only comes from the center of the Earth globe is an unevidenced, backpedaling double standard.
Then isn't it lucky that nobody believes that? It's the entire mass of Earth that attracts things towards its centre. That's just how gravity works. And the only reason that you and other flat earthers constantly try to debunk one of the fundamental forces of the universe is because you all know that it is completely impossible to be able to apply gravity to a flat Earth.
Gravity! So your atmosphere is amazing. It really is. It's 90% water.
Who the f starts a conversation like that? I just sat down.
Yes, science!
According to a certain flat earther, the globe is an impossibility because of Walt Disney. Rockets can't work in space because fire needs air, and all of NASA's photos. Well, we all know how flat earthers feel about NASA. Should we find out exactly what he has no clue about?
Shut up and sit down, you big bald f***.
Please subscribe.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Wherever you may be, CC here, Chris, from New York, Westchester County. Well, they sure are vamping things up. Let's just take a quick look. You know what I love about the number 33 is when it appears on trucks, fire trucks, especially when they're responding to a fire, and They're on hats and shirts and, say, perhaps an office building. 33 means they have a hand on it.
Okay, so what does that say about you then? Whose hand is on you? Because I am sure that even a flat earther of your caliber is aware that C is the third letter of the alphabet, which makes you the 33 king. Now, I don't know if that was by design or if it's just that you're too dumb to see the irony in what you've just claimed, 33. Sorry, I meant CC.
I see they're still talking about the ball. This impossible imagination of Walt Disney and all the scientists and everybody that wants you to think that you're insignificant, that you live on some, spinning wet thing in space and stars and all this other nonsense.
So as far as I can tell, Cece's argument here is that we've all been duped since childhood by Walt Disney for some reason. But I've got to wonder, if Disney is behind all this, why do the tides still work? Why does the moon have phases? I mean, I've been to a Disney park and they can't even get the queues to move quickly, let alone orchestrate a worldwide multi-generational conspiracy on the sort of scale it would need to be if any of what Chris was saying was true.
When you know deep down none of that's true.
That's just brilliant, Chris. So you've spent the last 10 years on YouTube trying to convince people that the Earth is flat based on a feeling you have. So not evidence then, just a feeling.
People who tell you that you live on the ball are, 1, operatives, possibly. 2, have degrees, master's degrees, PhDs, name it. If they have it, they're going to be pushing, of course, the ball.
So according to Chris, if you've got a degree, you're just an operative for the grand ball Earth conspiracy. So you can have a master's degree, a PhD, or even, I assume, a degree in basket weaving. It doesn't matter. The second that diploma is in your hand, you are immediately recruited into a society of globe pushers, which implies that every physicist, every pilot, every civil engineer, and every single person who has ever used GPS to get a pizza is part of a grand global multi-generational hoax. I suppose I should be impressed by the level of coordination required to even pull that off. Chris, the reason so many professionals agree that the Earth is indeed a sphere isn't because they're part of a secret club, it's because the evidence is overwhelming and you have to be a special kind of stupid to believe otherwise.
Special Officer Dookie reporting.
Okay? Any architectural engineer, anybody who has any degrees up the yin-yang can't do anything because they're part of the system.
Now, if I was feeling particularly mean today, my response to that little nugget of wisdom could be, so what you're saying then, Chris, is that to be a flat earther is to be an uneducated douchebag who wouldn't know a good, solid piece of evidence if somebody stapled it to his forehead. Because that's what it sounds like to me.
Don't you realize when you get your doctorate, you're part of the doctrine system? That means anybody can contact you and threaten to strip all of your medical professional things away from you.
But a PhD and an MD are two different things. So when you broke your leg a few months ago, did you go to a vet?
If you open your mouth and you start to agree on something like flat Earth.
So my doctor, my family physician, if she happened to be a flat earther, then she would be in danger of losing her right to practice medicine here in the UK. What?
So this is the main reason why we can't get any of these people to really tell the people out there. And I'm not talking about the clueless people. Those are NPCs or somebody. I don't know who they are. There's no use in ever helping them, you know. But you go down to the street and you say to yourself, why don't you bring up? Yeah, why don't you bring up flat Earth with that person? No, I like having my teeth in my head.
See, so you aren't as stupid as you sound in your videos, are you? Yeah, outside of YouTube, it's probably better to keep your flat earth ideas to yourself. Unless, of course, you enjoy being mocked in real life as well as on the internet.
You're telling me you can shoot a rocket off into space from Earth to Mars at the velocity that we're moving at and the velocity that Mars is moving at, and pinpoint accuracy right on a crater?
Yeah.
But, you know, unfortunately, you've been taught ever since you were a kid that this is true.
Yeah, but that's only because schools and universities pick a centre that educates people. They all have to remember one very important thing when they're teaching their students. And that one very important thing is that they have to teach things which are based on reality, not fantasy.
Okay, and that's when they get you as a kid, and they get the ball in front of you and keep pounding away at it, bringing you Star Trek, Star Wars, all the shows to reiterate everything that's out there.
So George Lucas is in on it as well. Well, I never. I didn't realise that Star Wars and Star Trek were documentaries.
Okay, Greg, I'm telling you, I've seen like 5 of those little teddy bear looking things. One of them had a spear.
Well, guess they were real.
Why not? I mean, don't people get it yet? I mean, it's just so obvious. It's so obvious who the real people are and who the fake people are. Who's pushing the ball and who knows what we live on.
Well, not flat earthers, that's for certain.
It's ridiculous. These people who believe in the ball think that you can see light from trillions and trillions of miles away. When you can't even see a flashlight less than 2 blocks away, it disappears into the atmosphere. And that's how the sun goes away.
The sun doesn't actually go away though, does it, Chris? Our position on Earth rotates away from the sun. Look, it doesn't matter. But by Chris's reasoning, because I can't hear somebody whispering at me from across a football stadium, a jet engine would also be completely silent at the same distance. The level of absurdity in equating a flashlight to a star is, well, is something, I'm sure.
So your atmosphere is amazing. It really is. It's 90% water.
90% water? Okay, now let's assume for a second that that's true. The atmosphere would be so thick with water vapour, every day would be like being in a steam room, a sauna and a hurricane all at once. So let's ground this with a dose of reality, shall we? This is one of those claims that can be debunked with some seriously basic information. The atmosphere is not 90% water. It is, in fact, predominantly nitrogen, which makes up about 78% of it, and oxygen, which is about 21%. And that leaves us with a teeny-weeny 1% for everything else, including argon, carbon dioxide, and, yeah, water vapour. Water vapour's contribution is usually between 1 and 4% of the atmosphere's volume, but it can fluctuate. The number 90% is just good old-fashioned wrong. It's not even close, Chris. The simple fact that we breathe in air and not drowned in is a pretty good indicator that you're wrong by a mile.
You know what happens to a light when you go away in atmosphere? It disappears. Okay? That's why you can't see China. You can't see Spain. You can't see all these different countries. You can't see Mount Everest. Okay, it's the atmosphere.
Ah, atmosphere, not the atmosphere flat then, Chris. So the atmosphere is not only a fantastic steam room, but it's also an incredible tool for making entire continents vanish from our view. So if I get a really powerful telescope, am I supposed to just see a white haze where China should be? I suppose that explains why we don't have binoculars that let us see the Eiffel Tower from London. It's not a conspiracy. It's just a bad day for the atmosphere. I've heard it all now. The reason you can't see countries like China, Spain, or even Mount Everest from your current location isn't a mysterious atmospheric haze. It's the curvature of the Earth, you silly goose.
And then it does make sense, you know?
I know, that's why I said it.
I mean, rockets are the easiest fucking things. You know, yeah, okay, look, I'm not saying they're not building rockets, but they're not going into space, okay? You can be an engineer and build a rocket and think it's going somewhere, but it's not going into space. It's just like you building a plane. Is that going to go somewhere? No. It's going to go 50 feet up in the air, and you're going to ride around, you're going to remote control the thing, and then it's going to come down.
Go on then, Chris, because I can see you're desperate to. You tell us why you think people invest billions of dollars building rockets only to not send them anywhere.
But you have to understand that rockets are impossible in space. There's no atmosphere in space. A flame needs air. What does vacuum mean to you? Vacuum means there's no air. Right? Yeah, you understand? You're with me on this, right? All right. I know you are. Come on, you're with me on this, right? There's no air. What do you need to start fire?
Well, you need oxygen, which is why the big brains who design rockets for space give them oxygen tanks to mix with the fuel so they can move through space. And in the context of space, a vacuum is just a region that is essentially devoid of matter. Rockets don't burn like a bonfire, Chris. The fire is a byproduct of combustion. What they use is an oxidizer, which is essentially the oxygen they need to burn, all packed neatly into a tank right alongside the fuel. They're not looking for a cosmic oxygen tank on the way up, you clown. It's a self-contained system. It's not magic, it's chemistry. And it's been a known thing for about a century.
And how do you control a spacecraft in space?
Thrust. And I didn't even have to look that up.
Excellent.
Thank you.
That's great. If you believe in that, you're delusional.
Yeah, but belief doesn't come into it, Chris. We can actually observe it, so we don't need to believe it. See, that's the difference between globe earthers and flat earthers. We are capable of accepting the evidence which is presented to us. Flat earthers, not so much.
What are your plans? Who's ever watching me who's not a flat earther, what are your plans?
Well, I'm planning to finish making this video, then I may polish the editing a little bit, upload it to YouTube, and let everybody that watches me laugh at you until a little bit of pee comes out. What about you, Chris? What are you up to this afternoon?
Puff it up! Puff it! Come on! No, it's not dog shit. It's bullshit!
That's actually a handy piece of information, Chris, because the number of time I have seen in the comments below my videos about you, what the hell is CC smoking? Well, we have our answer. So not only does he talk shit, but he also smokes it.
Big up yourself.
Do you wish to still proceed without an attorney?
I just want to know, where do you get your powers?
wish
Are
to
you an Article
proceed?
3 judge or an Article 6 judge?
Ever wondered what happens when somebody decides that laws just don't apply to them because they've copyrighted their own name? Yeah, me neither. So let's find out, shall we? I mean, what's not to love about seeing a sovereign citizen getting absolutely destroyed in a courtroom?
Shut up and sit down, you big bald f***.
Please subscribe.
Court does call the case of the people versus Daniel Magoo.
Good morning, Your Honor. Ashton Lodge for the people.
Sir, state your name.
I'm here on a special appearance, Your Honor. Magoo is Easy Elastical Trust, registered in Jackson County, on case number 2522246.
Okay, is your name Daniel Magoo?
Your Honor, that is the name you seek, and it is copyrighted and trademarked.
Well, another sovereign citizen has rolled into court armed with the groundbreaking legal theory that their name is a copyrighted entity and therefore laws just evaporate around them. But last time I checked, existing in society generally comes with adhering to society's rules. This isn't a game of Monopoly, pal, where you can just declare yourself exempt because you own a top hat.
Ms. Magoo, are you represented by an attorney, or do you wish to be represented by an attorney on these matters?
Well, this video just got more interesting. His name is actually Mr. Magoo.
I am not.
Do you wish to be?
Nope. Not at this time.
Of course he wants to represent himself. I mean, try finding a real lawyer who's idiotic enough to think that they can actually defend one of these sovereign citizen morons in a real court of law.
You are under arrest.
I'd better call Saul. Hi, I'm Saul Goodman. Did you know that you have rights? The Constitution says you do.
Let me then do this. You have two cases before this court, one being the case ending, let me get the full case number 25F40523. In that case, sir, the complaint does allege that on March 27, 2004, you committed the offense of operating while intoxicated. Do you understand what you're charged with?
I do not.
Well, let me help you out then, Mr. Magoo. You were driving pissed up, which is not only illegal, but it also makes you a complete scumbag who, in my opinion, should not pass go, nor should you collect $200. You should be going straight to jail.
You do not understand
There is no eyewitnesses or corroborating witnesses at all.
How can that possibly be true? Because if there were no eyewitnesses, then you wouldn't be in court in the first place, would you? But let's say that there weren't. Eyewitnesses aren't always necessary for charges to be brought anyway. You were driving drunk. There is literally no excuse that any judge in the world would accept, let alone the absolute garbage excuses you were going to try and use as a sovereign citizen.
In the case 25F30979, in that case, sir, you are before a complaint that alleges that on or about July 3rd of 2025, count one is fleeing and eluding fourth degree.
Added on by the prosecutor's office after the fact.
That is a felony, punishable by
Malicious
up to 2 years
prosecution.
incarceration and a $2,000 fine plus court costs, mandatory suspension by the Secretary of State.
My Secretary of
two
State, anything
is
is canceled. I have no contracts with the state of
vehicle.
Michigan.
That is a misdemeanor.
This is a matter of trust, Your Honor. This is a matter of trust.
Yeah, when all else fails, accuse everyone else of malice. It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off.
I am protected under
a $100 fine plus court cost. Count three on that complaint alleges operating a motor vehicle without security. That is a misdemeanor, not punishable by not more than 1 year incarceration and not less than $200 nor $500 fine plus court cost. Count four is operating while license suspended, denied, and or revoked. That is a misdemeanor.
all of my registrations are through the federal government. I have federal government registration. I do not have contracts with the
Vehicle
state.
could be subject to mobilization.
I don't think the judge is listening to you, pal. It's almost as if he couldn't give a crap that you're trying to sue him and is caught for malicious prosecution. Now, malicious prosecution is a civil wrong that occurs when somebody initiates or continues legal proceedings against another person without proper justification and with an improper motive. And those proceedings ultimately end in the victim's favour. But something tells me that this strategy isn't going to work out for this guy. I mean, it doesn't really get much more cut and dried than having a police officer catch you drunk behind the wheel and then have to pursue you when you try to escape. Doesn't sound that malicious to me.
Count five on that complaint alleges refusal to obey
I have an international driver's
police
permit.
officer. That is a misdemeanor, punishable by up to 90 days, $100 fine plus court cost. I would indicate to the defendant the same admonishments regarding the perils in representing oneself that I stated in the other case also apply to this case.
Were you served your notice and summons yet, Your Honor?
Wishes to have counsel appointed. The court would consider or would appoint counsel to represent him in this matter, and he apparently wishes to proceed.
Were you served your notice
Having
and summons
notice
for federal
of
court?
the charges, sir, do you wish to still proceed without an attorney?
I just want to know, where do you get
Do
your
you
powers?
wish
Are
to
you an Article
proceed?
3 judge or an Article 6 judge?
Why does it matter? State courts handle most cases, focusing on state laws, while federal courts deal with specific federal laws. And for a state court arraignment, Article 3, which establishes the federal judiciary, and Article 4, the Supreme supremacy clause, which binds states to federal laws, are not directly relevant to the arraignment's procedure anyway. But in my humble Welsh opinion, it does seem a little hypocritical when you consider the fact that sovereign citizens think that the laws don't apply to them at all. So for them to even ask that question is, well, it's nuts.
Where are your vested powers? Can you answer that?
An attorney.
You can't even answer
look
what
it
your
up.
powers are.
You can look it up.
No, you guys disconnected my access to any kind of law library or anything. You are an Article 6 judge under the Michigan Constitution. You have no authority to deprive me of my rights.
If you know, why ask? You can't honestly believe that you're going to be able to trip up a judge. He's probably had more interactions with sovereign citizens than you have.
This is a matter of a federal matter now, Your Honor, under case number 2511226, under the Eastern District of Michigan, under the Honorable Mark A. Goldsmith and Magistrate Judge David R. Grand. There is no proceeding here, Your Honor.
There is no proceeding. Oh, there's a proceeding.
Well, malicious prosecution is proceeding.
Okay, very good. Do you wish to have a preliminary examination?
There's no proceeding, Your Honor. This is a matter that should be stayed.
What a legal scholar Mr. Magoo is, armed with his Google search results, attempting to school a judge on constitutional law. Seriously, it's truly inspiring, isn't it? Especially when he clearly has no idea about the basics. And as far as a stay, well, judging by the look on the judge's face, you will be having a stay. In jail. Don't drop the soap.
Your Honor, I don't know if the defendant has received all discovery in this matter as he is representing himself, so I would request a probable cause date, potentially.
Because you guys send it.
Yeah, and who my phone calls?
Conference. You know what? You're going to have to stop interrupting. I will give you an opportunity. You've been before me before. I will give you an opportunity to say whatever you want to say. But I'm not going to have you interrupt me, and I'm not going to have you interrupt the people when they're talking. As long as you were saying.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have to there's video evidence in addition to the paper discovery. I've got to make arrangements with Lieutenant Arnett to work on, so it may take just a bit longer. I would potentially look at the 7th, maybe, if the court would have entertained that, and then I will wait to hear down by when the time is appropriate.
I have got to keep my eyes on YouTube so I know when this actually goes to trial. Now, some of you might remember that a few minutes ago, this strange little man said that he had an international driver's permit and that his license was cancelled, which is apparently, or at least according to him, a magical third category that somehow makes him immune to, well, driving laws. And the international driver's permit, that's not a get out of jail free card, even for sovereign citizens. So in this instance, it would be like bringing a ruler to a knife fight and expecting to win by measuring the blade.
Your Honor, I do think it's important that the court have some additional information, and I would have to ask the court to revisit the issue of bond. First and foremost, I think it's important the court know that the facts alleged in the newest case, the 25F30979, it does include the fact that the Michigan State trooper who pulled the defendant over noted in his police report that the defendant had a license on his vehicle that indicated he was a diplomat.
Uh-oh, that's a bit naughty, Mr. Magoo, isn't it? Pretending to be a diplomatic consular or other official of a foreign government is a federal offence. And while having the plates without further fraudulent action might fall under different state laws regarding false plates or impersonation, the federal statute covers the intent to deceive about diplomatic status. I can't wait to hear his excuse for this one.
In that he refused to identify himself, he refused for quite a bit of time. Additional units had to be brought to the scene from the sheriff's department in order to, for lack of a better term, the situation, and ultimately they were able to identify him as the defendant, Daniel Magoo.
Funny how Mr. Magoo failed to mention any of that when the judge asked him if he understood why he was in court in the first place.
The concern with that goes along with the other case, which is an OWI. It is charged as a third. I will note that it is a true fourth, to the best of my understanding, so there does appear to be an alcohol problem going on. And I also think it's important for this court to know, because I don't know that the court knows, the defendant has a third new case, telecommunications malicious use with a domestic relationship.
So what you're saying then is that this Mr. Magoo guy is a bit of a dick.
He's also been set $10,000, 10% in that matter. But I think
where is case out of?
That case is out of 14B, Your Honor, before Judge Washington.
Of co-defendants with the federal case that you guys are both in, and this is a conflict of interest as both of you guys are defendants in my federal case.
Conflict of interest? Yeah, right. You're a drunk driver with no valid driver's license, and I'm gonna guess and say no registration or insurance either. And the cherry on top is that it sounds very much like you also have an ongoing case for making threats. I wonder if they were malicious threats.
Go ahead.
I also understand, Your Honor, that there is a municipal case out of Canton Township that was set for a jury trial in April of this year where the defendant failed to appear. And there were jurors, a veneer that had been brought in. And I bring all of this up to say, Your Honor, that the people are concerned about the defendant's ability to remain law-abiding.
I mean, we could have told you that, and none of us are lawyers. Or I wonder if I wouldn't need lawyers watching me. Let me know in the comments.
Because I'll also note for the record that at the time that the new resisting, obstructing, fleeing, eluding case, a telecommunications malicious use case came up, he was in bench warrant status before Judge Slay, is my understanding, for refusing to come after the case here had been over, refusing to appear in person.
So what you're saying then is that this isn't the first time this bloke's been before a judge. I wonder if any of the SovSit arguments have ever actually been successful. And no, we're not measuring the success rate by the amount of laughter that those claims generate. I mean, has any judge ever said, case dismissed? There's no way I can beat this guy. He's just too smart when it comes to the law.
I say all of that to say this. I do think that $10,000 is too low. And I also am going to request a scram tether because this is an OWI 4th alleged, as well as a GPS tether, given his history of failure to appear and failure to comply with court regulations. Thank you, Your Honor.
Is the bench warrant before Judge Slay still out?
She has bond denied in her case now.
His bond's been denied in that?
Yes, that's correct, Your Honor.
Got it.
Now, I'm not going to pretend that sovereign citizens are my area of expertise because they're not, but I do a lot of research before I talk about any topic because otherwise I'd be no better than the people I was talking about. But I am a little bit confused as to why this guy was even not already in jail to be able to drive a car without a license while drunk. And then, yeah, I don't get it. Now, I know I'm not American, and just that seems to upset some people when I talk about sovereign citizens, but why isn't he already in jail?
Anything you'd like to say?
Anything to do with the state of Michigan are void ab initio for a matter of law. I have an canceled driver's license, and I have an international driver's permit. International driver's permit. And that also relates to the Canton case that they're trying to stick me for a driving unlicensed suspended citation in which that I have an international driver's permit.
And would that be an international driver's permit like the one I showed on screen earlier on? In fact, here it is again, which requires you to hold a valid driver's license.
All of my matters, including the vehicle that I'm registered under, are registered to the federal government, not the state, under the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. All of these charges are frivolous and a part of a long pattern of malicious prosecution by Ms. Landy, the Washtenaw County Prosecutor's Office, and quite frankly, you, Your Honor.
I know, and he looks absolutely terrified about it, doesn't he?
Hearing argument regarding bond, the court does believe that it was an abuse of discretion given the circumstances of this defendant to set his bond at the $10,000 figure. After hearing argument, viewing the file, the court does believe that not only does the defendant pose a risk to the public,
no victims,
do believe that the defendant is a risk of flight given those circumstances and has indeed, or at least is charged in this case, refused to obey or fled and eluded
That was added on afterwards. The police officer did not report that at all.
The court, given those circumstances, would in each case raise the defendant's bond, grant the people's motion. Defendant's bond in each matter is set in the amount of $50,000 cash here. Thank you.
Nice. 50 grand. Oh. So, what have we learned from today's video? Well, if you want my opinion, I've got no clue. Maybe you do. So let's talk about it in the comments. Please subscribe. I don't know what I really think of Kent Hovind. Well, I didn't hold anything back in today's video.
And I'll tell you for why.
I'm probably the most hated man on the internet. I believe the Bible is absolutely true and scientifically accurate. God made everything in 6 days.
Probably the most hated man on the internet. Don't sell yourself short and believing that the Bible is absolutely true and scientifically accurate. Well, there's your first problem right there. But I think there's a bit more to it than that, Mr. Hovind.
Not a doctor.
So, let's take a closer look, shall we?
Shut up and sit down, you big bald f***.
Please subscribe.
Every once in a while, and every distant between the time between the two.
What?
I go back, I read comments on videos that somebody made about me or that I made.
Whoa, you can read? Well, it doesn't seem like it from some of the things you claim about evolution, Ken.
Somebody did a short of me, they interviewed me and asked me something. I said, I think I'm probably the most hated man on the internet.
Ah, yeah, but that's because you're a massive tool. And the fact that you've even claimed to be the most hated man on the internet speaks volumes about just how deluded you are. You're not important or relevant enough to be the most hated man on the internet, or anywhere else for that matter. But in all seriousness, you are a bit of a knob.
We're with you, Ken. I love this man. Sticks to what he knows.
Now, far be it from me to disagree with somebody in your comment section. But if that was true, then you wouldn't say anything at all, would you? Because you know jack shit. Now, Jack Shit was the only son of O Shit and O Shit. O Shit, the fertilizer magnet, married R Shit, the owner of Knee Deep in Shit. And in turn, Jack Shit married No Shit. And the deeply religious couple produced 6 children. Holy Shit, Full of Shit, Give a Shit, Bullshit, and the twins, Deep Shit and Dip Shit. And against their parents' objections, Deep Shit married Dumb Shit, a high school dropout. And after being married for 15 years, Jack and No Shit got divorced. Now, No Shit later married Mr. Sherlock. And because her kids were living with them, she wanted to keep their previous name. She was then known as No Shit Sherlock. Dip Shit married loads of shit, and they produced a nervous son, Chicken Shit. Full of Shit and Give a Shit were inseparable throughout their childhood and subsequently married the Happens brothers in a dual ceremony. The wedding announcement in the local newspaper announced the Shit Happens wedding. They even created a bumper sticker and made millions. You've probably seen it.
A true Christian indeed. I haven't seen him lose a debate once.
Haven't seen him lose a debate? Well, that's either because you haven't been looking very hard or you've been watching Kent's very heavily edited versions where he somehow magically becomes the victor. The reality is, Kent's debate strategy is what's known as gish gallop, or complete and utter bollocks, where he spews a rapid-fire series of easily debunked, irrelevant or misleading arguments, making it impossible for his opponent to address them all in the time they have. The moment he's actually required to stick to a single point or defend it with evidence, his whole argument falls apart like a wet cardboard box.
He's hated, laughed at, mocked, and just keeps on going. What about his 4 divorces? How biblical is that?
Fair question. Now, he married his first wife, Jo Hovind, in 1973 and then divorced in 2016. He then married Mary Tocco in September 2016, but they didn't obtain a marriage license and instead entered into a public, legally recognisable common law marriage. But in Alabama at the time, the state didn't recognise common law divorces that could be entered and exited at will. Rather, to legally end the marriage, even a common law marriage, they would have still had to undergo a formal divorce process, the same as for a traditional marriage. Legal common law marriages cannot be dissolved except by legal processes, Kent, not by hand-waving. But that's exactly what you did. While you were still married to Mary Tocco, wife number 2, you waved your hand and declared the marriage dissolved in 2017. So maybe Kent is telling the truth, but you've still had at least 3 women kick your old ass out for being abusive.
First of all, been divorced 1 time. Okay, my first wife divorced me, and the rest is none of your business.
Do you mean like it's none of your business what my real name is? You know, that thing that seems to really bother you for some bizarre reason. Yeah, I'll have to remember that the next time you mention it in a video.
So anyway, so quit calling me a wife abuser. You guys, you're stupid. You're morons, okay?
Stop abusing your wives then. It's well documented, Kent. There's videos about it and everything, and anybody can watch them.
You got in prison for evading taxes. No, I did not.
But you did. It's public record. But do you mean you didn't go to prison like, I don't know, that time you argued that because you're a minister of God, everything you own belongs to God and isn't subject to taxation? But sadly for you, the US Bankruptcy Court rejected the petition, ruling that it had been filed in bad faith. Or did you not go to prison? Remember the time the IRS raided your home and businesses and showed that you lacked a business license and the correct tax exemption status? And bank deposits recovered in that raid showed that this excuse for a man had deposited well over $1 million into various bank accounts since 1997 and had neither reported nor paid taxes on any of that income. Was it 9 years you served, or did you have to do the full 10? Inmate 06453-017.
Convict music.
He's hated, mocked, and laughed at because he's deliberately dishonest. Well, Patrick, I'm calling you a liar. You cannot show me where I've been deliberately dishonest. Call in, schedule a debate. It's easy to sit behind your keyboard. Open debate, okay? You go first. Show me where I've been dishonest.
Yeah, and you'd know all about ad hominem attacks, Kent, wouldn't you? My name is Creaky. C-R-E-A-K-Y, not creepy. And all you're doing is what you always do. You can't think of an answer, or dare I say, give an honest one, so you've just thrown out another pointless debate challenge. What the hell are you going to debate this guy on? Whether or not you're honest? A dick. And for you to say you cannot show me where I've been deliberately dishonest is just so, well, it's typical Kent hovind, isn't it? It's a bit like a bank robber saying, prove I'm dishonest, while he stood in front of an open vault with a bag of money over his shoulder. And it's not about hiding behind a keyboard either, Kent. Some people just want to keep a little bit of anonymity. And it's not about not wanting to debate you either. Your debates are a complete waste of time, like you.
Call 855-BIG-DINO extension 4, okay? Put your money where your mouth is.
So you charge people to debate you now as well, do you?
He's not even that. He's not understanding that what he's viewing is inherently false. Oh. He continues to do it after being corrected time and time again. I've never been corrected. I wasn't wrong, okay? That he is adhering, that his competition, if you will, adheres to ideas they repeatedly have told him that they don't. Yet they do believe they came from a rock. Patrick, if you believe in evolution, you believe you came from a rock.
I wasn't corrected, therefore I wasn't wrong. So, like when a child plugs their ears and screams, la 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 la, I can't hear you, while their parent is trying to explain why they can't have ice cream for dinner. A bit like that, Kent, is it? Just because you refuse to acknowledge a correction, it doesn't mean it didn't happen. The internet is littered with examples of people, me for one, and lots of actual scientists as well, patiently and thoroughly correcting your claims about everything, yet you continue to ignore the corrections and just keep repeating the same tired, debunked years ago nonsense that you've been spouting since for a very long time.
I got to stand before God one day. I'm honest in everything I do.
Are you taking the piss?
Can't we love you and stand with you, creation all the way, for a loving God, the Father through his Son? People don't hate you, they laugh at you. Well, that's okay. At least they listen. How many people listen to you? Let's see, no valuable info, none. From Euclid Fusion. You must be watching the Atheist, if you're, I would agree.
Ah, perfect. I've been waiting for you to bring up Atheist because I've got a question which relates directly to me and hundreds of thousands of other people not believing in God, or any God for that matter. So you as a creationist, Kent, you think that God created everything. So God created my phone. He created the remote for my air conditioning because I'm very posh. Even created this stapler and little old me. Why would he have created hundreds of thousands of people just to have them not believe that he's even real. Now, surely, if God is as all-powerful as you claim, then wouldn't he have possessed the power to make sure that every human being in existence believed in him? It's just a thought.
I love hovind. Keep preaching the word, brother. I intend to. Most hated because you've debunked their whole life years ago. Keep up the great work, Kent. Amen. See, I think the atheists know full well, if they would admit that I'm right, God made the world, their whole lifestyle, maybe more than that, maybe their eternity is at stake.
Now, when Kent says that we're only rejecting God claims because we don't want to change our lifestyle, it's just a desperate attempt from a desperate, irrelevant little man to invalidate our position without actually addressing the arguments. Saying cows always produce cows and sheep always produce sheep is not debunking anything, Kent. It's making yourself look like a moron. So I encourage it. It's nothing more than a deflection, a smokescreen to avoid having to defend the truly indefensible. The great work they're talking about, you think it's debunking? Well, it isn't. Because all you do is repeat old debunked claims to a gullible audience who are obviously just as stupid and naive as you, and they already agree with you. So Kent isn't just saying that atheists are wrong, he's also suggesting that we're actively lying to protect ourselves from the consequences. What consequences? It's an incredibly arrogant and condescending position. Actually, it quite suits you, Kent. Keep it up.
Yeah, okay. The man was sentenced to prison for 10 years for tax evasion. What on earth is that, Joseph?
I've been with you in Texas. You didn't evade it.
I didn't evade any tax?
Potato, tomato, but you did spend 9 years in prison.
Hey, did the kids like the swings? Did they try the giant swing off the tower? Oh, we'll do that after Bible study, yeah. All right.
Sounds a bit dangerous to me, but what do I know? But, Kent, if anything terrible happens, like, for example, if one of those children happens to have an accident and die, you can do exactly the same thing you did the last time a child died at Dinosaur Adventureland and offer his parents a free day at your free admission dinosaur theme park.
And you think he's hated because he debunked atheists? You must be the joker. I did debunk them all. All you atheists, why don't you call in? Joseph, I've only had 389 debates. I'm trying to get to 1,000. We were going strong there for a while. What happened?
Everyone realized it was a complete waste of time and that you yourself are a complete joke. I don't know.
He doesn't have a doctorate. Calling his self-provided religious school degree a doctorate is an insult to everyone who worked for a real one.
Not a doctor.
I completely agree, but let's be honest here. Ken is an insult to people in general, just by existing, not just people who've worked hard to get their doctorate.
Well, Matt the Wise, if you went to a school and got a real doctor's degree from an accredited university and came out believing you're related to a banana, I don't respect your degree much either.
Atheists think that we came from a banana. Now, that is so fundamentally flawed, it's almost not worth dignifying with a response. I did say almost. But seeing as we're going to have to. The truth is, scientists do not say we came from bananas. What they do say is that we share a significant amount of DNA with them. We also share a lot of DNA with chimpanzees, about 98%, and a wide range of other life forms. And this isn't because we came from a banana, Kent, but because all life on Earth shares a common ancestor and the same basic building blocks of life. It's a scientific fact, Kent. You may as well try to debunk the sky.
Learn science. Landon, if you're saying there's evidence for evolution, call in and show me that evidence. You need to learn some science if you believe that.
For what? What would be the point in this guy wasting his time? Because all you're going to do is say, evolution is the dumbest religion ever known, and dogs make dogs, and cows make cows, and your parents made a moron.
Kent literally said there's no point in going to the moon. Yet he said he loves science. Landon, what was the point in going to the moon? I taught earth science for 15 years. I'm pretty familiar with this topic. When they were going to go up there, I said, well, it's interesting, but you know how much it costs to go there? And what did they get? Some moon rocks. We got plenty of rocks in my gravel pit. Come on down. We'll give you all the rocks you want.
My word, you really are useless, Kent, aren't you? You are like the skid marks on the underpants of science. The moon rocks weren't just any rocks, were they? They were pristine samples from a celestial body that hadn't been exposed to the Earth's geological processes, and they provided irrefutable evidence of the moon's age, composition, and the early history of the solar system. Ah, so that's why you don't like the moon landings and think they were a waste of money, because the samples didn't show that the moon was only 6,000 years old, did they? Oh well, you know what? I'm all Kented out for one day. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you again on Friday at 7:30 p.m. Love you. Bye. Except for you, Kent. You can get fucked.
Out of everything that's on the internet, this is the best thing.
Does the axis of evil? Great start. Does the axis of evil support business? Be able to practice. Does the axis of evil support biblical cosmology? I got no idea. I don't even know what the axis of evil is. So, let's see what happens when you mistake a religious text for a science textbook.
Shut up and sit down, you big bald f***.
Please subscribe. Maybe some of you guys already saw this article, but yesterday was supposed to be, in particular, yesterday, July 9th, was supposed to be a shorter day. Did you feel it?
Okay, so the claim is that July the 9th was a shorter day. Now, to be clear, when we say shorter, we're talking milliseconds here, right? Not like suddenly losing an hour of daylight.
In my opinion, all the days are shorter, but the days do also seem kind of unstable these days.
Unstable, you say? Now, I'm pretty sure that feeling is just what we call Mondays. But let's talk about the actual science here, not the feelings. The days are, in fact, getting shorter, but by an amount so infinitesimal that you need an atomic clock just to register it, not a gut feeling. The difference is measured in milliseconds, Hans, not in missing lunch breaks or suddenly it's dark outside.
Like, some days will feel extraordinarily short.
Extraordinarily short? Well, then I'm sure you're about to provide us with some extraordinary evidence to back that up.
I mean, it hasn't happened recently, but in my opinion, it has been a gradual frogs boiling in a pot situation since about the 2000s of time gradually speeding up.
But the feeling that time is flying by is just called getting older, isn't it? It's a psychological phenomenon, not a physical one. Time itself isn't speeding up, and we know this because the devices we use to measure time, like atomic clocks, are built on the most stable physical process we know of. They measure the incredibly consistent oscillations of atoms. And guess what? They've been ticking away at the exact same boring rate since they were invented. If time were actually speeding up in the way Hans is describing, it wouldn't just be a feeling. Everything would be affected. The laws of physics would need to be completely rewritten. The rate of radioactive decay, the frequency of light, even our aging process would be accelerating in a way we could precisely measure. But none of this is happening. I know. I was shocked as well.
That being said, yes, everything is faster, but it does also seem like sometimes like that was really fast. Like last week, I was on vacation for a week and it seemed extra fast.
Now, believe it or not, this is actually one of Hans's flat earth videos we're watching. Now, I don't really get what Hans is trying to prove here, apart from that the earth is flat, obviously. And it sounds like you're describing the vacation effect, Hans, a well-known psychological phenomenon where time seems to speed up when you're having fun and experiencing new things. That's not a conspiracy, it's just your brain being a little bit of a trickster. And I have absolutely no idea how you can possibly use any of what you've said so far to help you prove that the earth is flat. Unless, of course, you're gonna claim that the earth, over thousands of years, eventually sped up to the point where it was rotating so quickly that it's begun to flatten out.
This is damage control, period. NASA has put out an article like this in the past?
NASA. It's always bloody NASA, isn't it? NASA do not control time. They only control space. Yeah, I probably shouldn't say that, should I? Or wear this.
But the point of the article was the same thing. You'll click on the article because you'll be thinking, yeah, time is a lot shorter. There is a lot less time in each day. And then you click the article, and then they're going to tell you something about milliseconds.
Ah, right, so you have at least read the article then, because what it says is that the Earth is expected to spin more quickly in the coming weeks. And they only use spin because it's an exciting buzzword. The Earth rotates. And it will make some of our days a little bit shorter. On July the 9th, 22nd and August the 5th, the position of the moon is expected to affect Earth's rotation so that each day is between 1.3 and 1.51 milliseconds shorter than they would normally be. Now, for context, and because it's something that even a flat earther can do, if you blink your eyes, that's somewhere between 100 and 400 milliseconds. And the days are only shorter by 1.3 and 1.5 milliseconds. Now, I guarantee that nobody watching this now can tell me how many times I blinked while I was saying that. We just don't notice something that happens that quickly. Unless, of course, Rain Man watches me. He might.
82, 82, 82. 82 what? How much is this? Toothpicks.
Now, just read this article, and this is where people will always have endless excuses for the...
For the what? Spit it out. And what you call excuses, we call explanations.
Those in control of the media, the scientists, whatever, they'll buy whatever excuse.
This video is so stupid. Hans, you can keep calling them excuses. You can keep blaming they and them and the top scientists and, of course, NASA. But what you're trying to get people to do is to mistrust the people who are the most qualified to provide us with accurate information when it comes to things like the Earth's rotational speed.
So they're going to say something like, well, they just want to get you to click on the article or whatever.
And there we go. You finally got something right. That's exactly why they use words like the days will be significantly shorter and the earth spins. It's just to get you to read the article. But the problem then is that you're a flat earther. So when you read it and you can clearly see that it does not support your position, you have to scramble around like rats on a sinking ship trying to come up with all sorts of excuses as to why it's wrong.
It doesn't even logically make any sense. So fast, much faster. So when you hear the word much faster, that already contradicts milliseconds. You're already contradicting milliseconds.
Yeah, but if the headline had said there will be a 1.3 millisecond difference in Earth's rotational speed, it probably wouldn't have got noticed as much. Because who cares? We can't even notice a difference that tiny. Earth is gonna spin much faster over the next few months, so fast that several days are gonna get ... then of course people are gonna read it. But it doesn't mean they're contradicting themselves. It's just a clever headline intended to get the attention of people who are interested in this sort of thing.
That's like a little bit faster, I guess. And so you might say they're sensationalizing the article in order to get more clicks. But science shouldn't be so sensationalized.
Science isn't sensationalized, but I get what you're getting at.
Allow myself to introduce myself.
Oh dear, these videos are definitely starting to take their toll. Now, just because there are a few rock star astrophysicists like Neil deGrasse Tyson, that doesn't invalidate anything that they've accomplished, or any discoveries that they've made, or anything they say for that matter. These articles aren't written by those astrophysicists. They're written by people who write articles, and they know that a good headline, like a good title on a YouTube video, because I'm sure that's why you clicked, will get people to watch what I've got to say.
And that's just something that I've noticed in MO, is that science is just too goofy and they don't take it seriously enough. If real scientists were pulling the strings, you wouldn't be sensationalizing things. You wouldn't want your article to have hyperbole in it.
Well, that wasn't confusing, was it? Because it sounded like you were defending the people that you're attempting to call out for being wrong.
Now, how do you really believe that they, NASA scientists, do you really believe that they could predict within fractions of milliseconds or milliseconds the spinning of Earth?
Yeah, science can absolutely predict the Earth's rotation with incredible precision. We're talking about measuring changes in fractions of milliseconds. And it's not about believing them, it's about, science.
I'm not going to show the whole article.
Yeah, I bet you're not, because you know full well that if you did, people would see that you're completely off your box.
But of course they're going to say gravity. Gravity is their ticket out of everything.
Well, not everything, and it's not a ticket out anyway. It's an explanation.
It's a wild card when it comes to physics. They can just blame things on gravity. Nowadays, they can have people believe in any sci-fi thing. Dark matter, black holes, whatever. But gravity is their go-to get-out-of-jail-free card. They're going to say that gravity is this thing. The sun's position, the moon's position are in such a way, is what they are claiming, to make these time differences.
The 1.3 to 1.5 millisecond time differences. Yeah. And we all know why flat earthers aren't going to like this article, because it specifically mentions that on certain dates, the moon's position at its furthest distance from Earth's equator will change the impact of its gravitational pull, causing a faster spin. Oh, and the article also mentions that billions of years ago, a closer moon with a stronger gravitational pull caused the Earth's rotational speed to increase, which is a double bummer for you, Hans, because you're also a creationist.
But if the time differences are milliseconds and fractions of milliseconds, and those are arising naturally, they're telling us, by the position of the moon and the sun and gravity, then this should be always happening all the time, and then there should be no news about this.
Okay, so the idea that these millisecond changes shouldn't be happening all the time and therefore shouldn't be newsworthy is, well, it's a bit like saying that tides should never be mentioned on the news, ever, because they happen every day. The Earth's rotation is constantly changing, but the changes are usually so tiny they don't even make headlines. What's unusual is when we see a slightly larger fluctuation, like the one that happened on July the 9th. It's not about being new, it's about being slightly more noticeable. But with that being said, it is still only 1.3 to 1.5 milliseconds, and then it's only noticeable to sensitive measuring equipment. We can't even perceive it. But that doesn't mean it isn't happening.
When I go outside and I look at the sun and the moon right now, nothing seems out of the ordinary about their positions to me.
Let's not take the piss here.
To measure Earth's rotation, scientists primarily use very long baseline interferometry, satellite laser ranging, and global imposition system data. Hang on a second, this feels like overkill. Hans, are you honestly claiming that your human eyes... You are human, I assume. But do you honestly think that your own eyes are going to give you a more accurate measurement of the moon's distance from Earth than the scientific equipment that is actually used to measure it?
Now, here's for something slightly different. Second half of the video is beginning now. These are just some space things. I mean, I've been talking about space recently. It's always an interesting topic for me because I know outer space is fake.
Oh yeah, I forgot you're a space is fake guy as well. Okay then, Hans, explain this to us and feel free to comment. I'd love to hear from you. Why is space fake? What evidence do you have that demonstrates that space does not exist? And also, expanding on that a little bit more, what evidence do you have that the Earth is flat? And if the Earth is flat, or a globe, it still has to be somewhere. So if space is fake, where are we?
This is just something that I stumbled upon recently. Why do they call it this? The axis of evil. Can somebody explain about the axis of evil in space, please?
The axis of evil in terms of space is used to describe an unexpected alignment in the cosmic microwave background radiation. You know, the faint afterglow of the Big Bang. Essentially, when scientists mapped it, they found that there were temperature fluctuations, you know, hot and cold spots. And the name's a bit of a joke. It was coined by scientists because the finding was so strange, because it challenged the fundamental assumption that the universe should appear the same in all directions, a principle known as the cosmological principle. So it's just a fascinating anomaly that has yet to be fully explained. It's not evidence of a flat earth or biblical cosmology. It's just another version of the God of the gaps. Science can't explain it yet, therefore God must have done it. So, today's flat earther has a whiteboard and a new model of the Earth, and it's a ring magnet. A ring magnet with a snake. So, let's have a look, shall we?
Shut up and sit down, you big bald f***.
Please subscribe.
Welcome to the Tomb of Illumination. Here the old clown who confronts the clown.
Well, in this video, I do. And today's clown wants to show the world his ring magnet-shaped Earth. So let's see if this joker has any idea what he's talking about.
Well, I can show them this ring magnet, actually. There is the weak force and strong force, and there has to be a dielectric zone in there.
The weak force and strong force have specific meanings in physics, but they have absolutely nothing to do with a simple magnet, let alone a mythical ring-shaped Earth magnet, whatever the hell you're bumping your gums about. A magnet just has a north and a south pole, not a strong and a weak force. The magnetic field is just a single entity that extends from one pole to the other. And as for the dielectric zone, that's just a fancy name for an insulator. The only zone in a magnet is the space between the poles where the magnetic field lines exist. And I feel it's worth pointing out the title to his video, the one I'm responding to. A flat earther receives a Nobel Prize for actual physics.
Are you taking a piss?
Check for yourself if you don't believe me.
So you think of magnetism as a dual entity, a dual thing.
Yes, science!
North and the South Pole. But the funny thing is, with our Earth, our flat Earth, it's a dual. It's dual again. So we've got the centre north, you've got the tropical gap, and then you have the southern hemisphere, right? We've got the magnetic field coming out of the south going to the Tropic of Capricorn, and the magnetic field coming out of the north going to the Tropic of Cancer.
It just keeps getting better. A tropical gap. The magnetic field is just a single, giant, unified field that wraps around the entire globe. It does not stop at arbitrary lines on a map that are based on the sun's position. The Earth's magnetic field is generated by the movement of a molten iron core, and it creates a field that extends from the magnetic North Pole to the magnetic South Pole, not just the tropics, you clown. So to suggest that it's coming out of the North and coming out of the South to a tropic completely ignores how magnetic fields work. It's a closed loop, not two separate ones.
And in reality, not that you taught this.
Reality? Good one. You wouldn't know reality if somebody stapled it to your forehead.
This is the North Pole, and this is the North Pole. It's a strong force and a weak force.
Oh, so your magnetic flat earth donut has got two North Poles. So I'm just making sure I'm keeping up with him.
So overall, they're just calling it North and South, but it's not. It's a lie, a big lie. Because Earth gets broken down into a dual system. There's the North, there's the South. The magnetic field comes out of the North and comes around to the South. There's one magnetic field. We star trail the stars going like this. If you're on one meridian, everyone's on a meridian, north to south. You see your star trail there, and you'll see the northern star trail here, right?
Brilliant, this guy can't even keep his own nonsense straight. He says it's a dual system and then immediately follows up with it's one magnetic field. So which is it, Chief? Now, while the Earth does have two poles, the magnetic field is a single continuous entity that flows from north to south. It's a closed loop, just like a magnet you'd find on your fridge. And as for your star trail claim, well, that's where it all completely starts to fall apart. Star trails aren't proof of some bizarre dual magnetic system. You moron. They're proof that the Earth rotates on its axis.
But you say you've got north here, and we've got a south here, on the Tropic of Cancer. So there's one magnetic cycle there, and there's another one there. It doesn't quite work like that because it works on a hole. It comes out of the north, round like that, around there, and back around there.
This guy has officially lost the plot. A south on the Tropic of Cancer. That's not how any of this works. The Tropic of Cancer is a line of latitude, a geographic marker, and it has absolutely nothing to do with Earth's magnetic field. The magnetic field is a powerful interconnected force that protects us from solar winds, and it looks a lot more like this than whatever he's scribbling on his whiteboard.
That's the one way we can tell that we live on a flat Earth system like this, where the centre diverges and the southern is expressed. If you look up in the sky, well, you can't look up in the sky, but you can film the movement of the sun all year, and it shows this. So if you're in the north looking this way, that's what you're going to get, because that's the north, centre north, northern hemisphere in here. The bigger, wider dispersed is out here. There's the tropical gap, and if you're in the south, you're going to be looking this way, and you're going to see it like this.
The analemma, or at least I hope that's how you say it. But it's one of the most beautiful pieces of evidence that the Earth is a sphere orbiting the Sun, and he's trying to use it to prove that his flat magnetic donut Earth nonsense is real. Now, the reason the Sun's path appears different from the northern and southern hemispheres is because you're standing on a sphere. From the north, the Sun's path is higher in the sky during the summer and lower during winter, and the opposite is true in the south, and this is perfectly explained by spherical geometry, not by some imaginary tropical gap. It's one of the best ways to prove that we live on a rotating globe, not a flat magnetic donut.
All the energy comes around out of the north. The sun comes out of the south, out of the southern hemisphere, I should say, south here. And we shouldn't be saying North Pole, South Pole. So we've all been fooled, all lied to.
I've got to ask, what are these hemisphere things you keep mentioning? How do you get a hemisphere on a flat disk? The North and the South poles are not made up. The geographic poles are the 2 points on the planet's surface where its axis of rotation intersects. Then you've got the magnetic poles, which are the regions where Earth's magnetic field lines enter and exit the planet. They aren't exactly at the geographic poles, but they are very real, and we've been measuring them for centuries.
So here's your strong force, and then the weak force around here. Okay?
Look, we've already established that you have absolutely no clue how magnetism works. Or reality. Now, you mentioned something about a snake being involved, so let's hear about that.
Talking about the serpent, the snake. This is what the magnetic field represents, is the snake. And there's your figure, there's your infinity symbol, isn't it?
Why have I made so few videos about this guy? He's an actual gold mine of ridiculous claims. The idea that a snake or an infinity symbol represents the magnetic field is a level of pseudoscience I didn't even think was possible. The magnetic field isn't some ancient biblical symbol, pal. It's a real, measurable physical phenomenon.
What is a magnet? What is a plate? What is a field? So it's the flux, the flow of the field, trying to seek equilibrium. So you got the strong force in the north, strong force in here. Should we do that again? Strong force in the north. Well, that's a bit flat. Strong force in the north, tropical gap, the dielectric gap, okay? Now, magnetic field does not cross the tropics. Might come in a little bit, but it doesn't cross, especially doesn't cross the, specifically doesn't cross the equator. And there's the southern hemisphere.
First off, strong force is a term in particle physics, and it has absolutely nothing to do with magnets. And a dielectric is just an electrical insulator. Stop saying it, you sound like a dick. It is not a gap in a magnetic field. You're just throwing out big words you clearly don't understand to try and sound like you know what you're talking about, and you're doing a shit job at it. But this has got to be the most absurd claim he's made, that the magnetic field doesn't cross the tropics or the equator. That's just a flat out lie.
What is a field? It's the magnetic flow of the field, and it's only flowing and crossing because we've got a sun. The sun was created, which set everything in motion.
What the hell is he talking about now? The Earth's magnetic field isn't created by the sun. It's a completely separate phenomenon. The magnetic field is generated deep within our own planet, in the outer core, which creates a powerful geodynamo effect, essentially turning Earth into a massive, self-sustaining magnet.
Why is a globe model impossible? Well, for the same reason. Well, their globe is symmetrical, isn't it?
No, the Earth isn't perfectly symmetrical. The rotation of the planet causes it to bulge at the equator, which makes it an oblate spheroid, not a perfect sphere. There are also mountains, trenches, and various surface features that break up any perfect symmetry.
How can it be?
It's not.
They've ignored magnetism. Magnetism. How does that work?
Well, we won't be asking you, that's for sure, because if you've demonstrated anything in your video, it's that you have absolutely zero understanding of magnetism.
Big field, small field. 3:2 ratio. They're ignoring all that.
This claim that symmetry conflicts with a supposed 3:2 ratio of magnetism is just baseless nonsense. The Earth's magnetic field is powerful and a continuous loop. Its existence is one of the reasons that we know the Earth is a globe and why it works. The only thing that isn't working here is your logic.
Lying. Lie. All the fields come spinning around the north and come out around the south.
Well, how about this then? Instead of standing there waffling and scribbling crap on a whiteboard, go out and actually prove that you're right and that we are wrong. I mean, historically, that's always worked out for flat earthers, isn't it?
I mean, it's interesting.
That is impossible. They've only put it on a tilt to try and explain this sun analemma idea.
The analemma isn't some convenient idea to match the tilt. It's the proof of a tilt and our elliptical orbit. There's only one person in this video trying to reverse engineer reality to fit a donut, and it ain't me. I don't need to force a square peg into a round hole, because I've got something that flat earthers will never have, and it's on my side. And do you know what that is? Reality, and a boatload of verifiable scientific observations that show I'm right and every flat earther in the world is wrong.
So it's tilted away, then you get the faint top part of the analemma. When all along it's the centre Earth has the ecliptic plane that flexes like this. It flattens out at equilibrium at this point here, or towards there's a secret going on here, and then it starts going up and in for the northern hemisphere. The ecliptic plane is the 2D plane up here in creation. Ecliptic plane flexes and the sun follows the flexing magnetic field.
Adiel, I thought I'd heard everything. This is next level nonsense. The sun's path has nothing to do with Earth's magnetic field, as I've already said. What you're saying is like saying a car's speed is determined by the colour of its paint. It's just a random, nonsensical connection with no basis in reality. You are completely misrepresenting scientific concepts to fit this bizarre, magnetic, flat Earth donut you've created in your mind. Yeah, get rid of it. It's all wrong anyway. So, don't forget to join me live at 6 PM on Sunday for the next episode of the Creaky Blinder Show. Yeah, I've sort of lost count now. And remember that from the 24th, I'm moving the show completely onto the second channel. So this will be the last episode on this channel, the main channel. Thank you all for your continued support and for watching my videos. I really, really mean it when I say I could not do this without the support of this amazing community we've managed to build. And I think that's about it for today. See you on Sunday. Love you. Bye.
Out of everything that's on the internet, this is the best thing.
I wonder how flat earthers navigate dating, because as far as I can tell, the only way a flat earther will ever get laid is if they crawl up a chicken's ass and wait.
I don't think so. No, 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 no. I don't think so. No, 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 no. It's never